Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's Professional here. Welcome back to my playthrough of Medal of Honor Rising Sun. Hope that you guys are enjoying this series. And on this part, we are going to be doing the mission Singapore Sling, the Singapore missions. I think there's 2 of these missions if I remember correctly. And the Singapore mission is the best mission in the game. A lot of people love this mission. I've seen a lot of comments of people saying, when are you going to get to the Singapore mission? So let's do it here. Hope you guys enjoy this. And if you guys enjoy this series, please do drop a like on it. It does help the series out a lot. Singapore Sling.
Take a seat, Sergeant Griffin. Now that you've completed your OSS training, we need you in active service. Immediately. In fact, tonight. One of our operatives has uncovered evidence of a top-secret Axis summit planned for tonight, somewhere in Singapore. We need to know what those bastards are up to. One of our Nisei operatives will make contact, a Private First Class Tanaka. He'll brief you upon arrival. Additionally, the Limeys have an SOE operative underground there, a Major Bromley. He's kind of a wild card, so keep your eyes peeled. That's the mission. And remember, we're depending on you.
Okay, March 12th, 1943. So, 1943 is probably the most important year of the war. It's where everything was changing at that point. Both Japan and Germany started losing at that point. Okay, so here we got the well rod. Got it. Well rod is a really strange pistol. It is a bolt action suppressed pistol. Yeah. So basically what happened was Singapore at this time was a British colony, and the Japanese had taken it over. It was actually right after the Pearl Harbor attack. Shortly afterwards, they invaded and took Singapore, and the British were actually fully confident that they would be able to hold Singapore, but the Japanese still took it. Now about let's get some more headshots on these guys. Ah, missed. Got him. Okay, perfect. Okay. Anything on this ship? Now the thing about, so what I was saying about Singapore is the British had heavily fortified Singapore, and they had blown up the bridges, but the Japanese army had actually swam across. And let me just, fix my camera here, it's just being a little annoying. Okay, hopefully that fixes the issue. Got him, nice shot there. So one way that the Japanese army was able to actually move their soldiers across very quickly to a lot of areas and not spend a lot of money was very smart, is the, oh, I got spotted here. Oh, I don't have grenades. I thought I did, okay. Great. Okay. Okay, so what I was saying is that in Singapore, the Japanese actually swam across when the British had actually blown up a lot of the bridges, and the Japanese had bicycles. Now, the thing about that is, imagine like hundreds of soldiers on bicycles. They could cover an area really quickly. So they could cover several miles really quickly. So, if you have
first class, yeah, I'll be your guide and translator for our little midnight tour here. We'd better get moving. The colonel will have my hide if we're late. Okay, here's the intel I have on the summit. The Axis have taken over the best hotel in the city. Our commander Shima is in charge of the whole thing. Nobody knows who he is or what his plan is, but security will be very tight. Rumor has it that a whole company of secret police work for me. Keep it mum. I'll do the talking.
誰だ何の用だ
この方、ホテルで島中佐との打ち合わせがあります。
殺してやる
Ah! Last mag, gotta make this count.
Enemy dead ahead!
Okay, ooh. Got them all. So now the collectibles in this mission are gonna be a little bit hard to find.
We're taking fire!
Walrod is extremely accurate, though. But, yeah, so, think about it this way. Now, a lot of people might laugh at that, thinking soldiers on bicycles. But think about this. Imagine, like, hundreds of Japanese soldiers on bicycles. Like, soldiers could, like, how long could soldiers could march through an area and, march maybe several miles, like, in a day, and they'd get tired. But then you could have, like, soldiers on bicycles cover dozens of miles in a day. And so they'd be able to advance really quickly with that and get to the enemy. And that's what happened with Singapore, is the Japanese had bicycles. I think that Winston Churchill, I think he called the fall of Singapore the worst British defeat in history. I could be wrong on that, but I remember he said something specifically on that. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're healed.
Shima's gonna turn the city upside down looking for us now. I'll go throw them off your trail. Lose them in the alleys and I'll meet you at the hotel.
おい出てこい出れだ
Ah. Okay. Got them all, okay. Let me look at my camera for a moment here, guys. I'm sorry, my camera is being a bit annoying. Okay, hopefully I fixed the issue with my camera. Sorry about that. Nothing in these crates. Some of the crates you can always just... Oh. here too. Damn, yeah. Really hard to aim on controller. Damn, I missed him. Okay. So this right here, this is a British prisoner of war. A lot of British POWs were taken after the fall of Singapore.
Good show, lad. I thought I was done for.
Okay, and I think there's 3 POWs to find in this mission. Ah. Yeah, I'm gonna take a little bit of time trying to find all the POWs, guys, because there's a lot of them in this mission. What? Okay. And we found one of the film canisters. Okay, perfect. Yeah, trying to find all the POWs here is going to be a bit hard. Look around carefully. We'll find the POWs. The noodles are wet and spicy. Okay, that's where we came from, right? Okay. We've been in there before, okay. I'm gonna once I clear all these enemies out, it'll be a lot easier for me to search the areas. Ah, no. Door will not open, okay. And about Singapore is a country today, and it's back then it wasn't a country. It was a colony of Britain, and then later Singapore actually became part of Malaysia. Now, here's the thing about it is out of all the countries that I've ever read about, I read a lot of history. Out of all the countries that I've ever read about, Singapore has the weirdest, like, way that they became a country. Like, there's a lot of different ways countries became countries, but Singapore is, like, the weirdest, like, way they've ever been a country. And the reason I consider it so weird is because the way Singapore became a country is Malaysia kicked Singapore out. So Singapore was part of Malaysia, and Malaysia kicked Singapore out. Now, you never hear about something like this. It almost never happens, where other countries and governments will go to great lengths to make sure they don't lose territory and make sure that territory doesn't secede. But when it came to Singapore, they kicked Singapore out. So it's like the only time in history that I know of a country being kicked out of another country. So they were forced to become their own country. And literally, why did Malaysia kick Singapore out? The reason is because Malaysia was mostly populated by Malaysians, and Singapore is mostly populated by Chinese Singaporeans. And so the Malaysians and the Chinese Singaporeans, they didn't agree on a lot of things, also a lot of religious differences. And so Malaysia kicked out Singapore and thought that Singapore was eventually going to rejoin and on their terms. But Singapore actually never ended up rejoining Malaysia, and Singapore actually became a very successful country and is very rich today. Singapore is one of the world's richest countries, definitely like this. I think that Singaporeans even have higher standards of living than Americans do. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But Singapore is like one of the richest countries in the world, very, very wealthy. But I feel like I'm missing something here. I just know it. I'm just missing something.
Get a move on, lad!
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Major Philip Bromley, SOE, at your service. Arrived in 32.
That's British Special Forces.
When the bleeding Japs took over. Now, you were heading for that tea party at the hotel, right? Follow me. Have you there in no time. Come on, get him!
Oh, okay, he just rushes in. I thought there would be a little bit more tactical about it, but...
Come on, lads, let's give him what for!
Okay, ooh. Okay, look around here. Don't want to miss a collectible. Oh, okay. All filled canisters found. Okay, perfect. We got it.
I've been tracking a certain German colonel in the hope of, how shall I put it, relieving him of his uniform. He should be passing through this very plaza. Here, lad, take these caltrops. Mind the sharp points. When I get the word, toss them under the tires of the staff car. That'll stuff them up right nicely. Go secure his uniform and we'll be on our way.
So this is the German colonel, and you're disguising yourself as him.
Right. Well, lad, this is about as far as I can safely go. Head down here. You'll be outside the hotel right quick. I'm not good at this farewell guff, so good luck, mate.
So even though you have the German uniform, they will still shoot at you on this part. Ah. Oh. Damn, those Japanese officers are so tough.
Do not make me repeat myself, Sergeant Gupta. Where is Barasby? I owe you one. I've got a medical kit stashed away behind those books. It's yours if you want it. Gupta's the name. Look me up after the war. I owe you a nip or two of whiskey.
So yeah, those POWs are definitely very happy. You would not want to be a POW in war, but especially wouldn't want to be a Japanese POW. Your chances of survival are very slim. Can't believe they're still alive, both of them. At least Well-Rod is extremely accurate, though, and that's the thing about the Medal of Honor games. Just because you aim the gun there doesn't mean the bullet always goes there. Well-Rod is more accurate, though, than the 1911, but yeah. Oh, these guys right here. These guys aren't just regular Japanese army. That's the Japanese secret police. They had those armbands on. I'm trying to remember what their name was. Somebody in the comments probably knows.
Don't shoot. They kept asking me about this Bromley character, but I didn't know. So they locked me in the bleeding cupboard. Been here for days. Here, take this ammo. I've lost my gun anyway.
Okay, so we've saved all the POWs.
Don't shoot! It's me, Tanaka! Oh boy. Swell uniform.
A little loose in the waist, but it'll do. Come on, Colonel Candler. We don't want you to be late. Your vehicle, sir.
So this is now the best part of the mission. Tanaka is a Japanese American that is helping you out. There's a lot of Japanese Americans were unfortunately put into internment camps, which was illegal and it was discriminatory. It wasn't until decades later that the US government acknowledged it was wrong and gave any survivors some compensation. But there were Japanese Americans that did fight in World War II, but a lot of them were actually sent to the Western Front, to especially to Italy.
Better start thinking in German.
There were some.
You're on, pal.
There was some Japanese Americans that also were translators.
Welcome to Singapore, Colonel Candler. Now, if you would be so kind as to follow me. Enjoy your stay.
Yeah, so this is definitely the best mission in the game. Okay. Where are we to go? And I think there's documents that you have to find in this part. So there's another bonus objective to find the secret documents.
I am pleased to have impressed you, honored guest.
That's Commander Shima. He's the main antagonist in Medal of Honor, Rising Sun.
East Asia co-prosperity sphere. We have discovered much wealth in the other nations of the region. This gold will secure the future of Japan. But what of the present? The gold cannot buy more weapons or more ships. But what might it purchase? May I introduce you to General Borov? For a handsome reward, the General has assured me that soon there will be a new leader in Russia. One who can guarantee peace with Germany. Now, the German head of state would never accept this plan. But there are elements within his own high command who would strike him down and replace him with a man whose vision of the future is unclouded. Their representative has joined us.
Imposter!
What? What is this?
That's my uniform!
Oh.
Didn't think our lady was a sticky wicket, did ya?
British Sten. Okay. Now, a few things here. So General Shima's plans was to, basically have... Oh, grab the slide reel. Okay. So General Shima's plan was to get some gold from Burma, and it was to, overthrow the leadership in Germany and have them make peace with Russia. So General Shima's plan was to, use the gold to basically fund another revolution in Russia and to replace the Russian leadership. And basically, he's probably trying to turn Russia into a puppet of Japan. Yeah, soundtrack in this mission is just great. Yeah, see how great the stent is? Okay, see anything new over here? Because I do have to find those documents. Also, General Shima is voiced by Mako, who is the voice actor for Uncle Iroh in Avatar. You guys might have Avatar: The Last Airbender. You might have recognized him from there. So you fight some German officers in this part. Now, the Germans and the Japanese did have some contact during World War II. Not a lot, but they did have some. Japanese submarines, for example, arrived in France. That was actually one of the main plots in Sniper Elite 5. That actually did happen. There was also German submarines that went to the Far East where they exchanged technology. Okay, trying to figure out where to go. Oh, the sushi chef just throws knives at you. I forgot about this. Damn, he takes a lot of damage. He does a lot of damage, and he takes a lot. Oh, there we go. Additional evidence found, 1 of 3. Okay, so there's even more documents to find then. Okay. And another thing, when General Shima mentions the... Oh, another one. Okay, additional evidence found. Nice. So when General Shima mentions the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, that was basically the name of Japan's empire. That's what Japan called it, the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere. And the thing is, though, is the reason that it was called the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, not the Japanese Empire, we call it the Japanese Empire here in the West. It is an empire, but the reason that the Japanese called it the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, not the Japanese Empire, is because the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere sounds better for propaganda. That's pretty much what it was. So the idea of the try to reload here. And I think there's another document around here somewhere. There it is. Oh. Got it. All bonus objectives. So, okay, let's get out of here.
You said your bloody prayers. Come on! Let's go! This information needs to get back to the OSS. Our only chance is to find out where the gold is and stop it from being moved. I think I still have a few friends in Burma.
Okay, oh, 120 enemies killed. Wow, it killed a lot of enemies.
Along with successfully occupying much of the Pacific, the Japanese Golden Lily team began a systematic pillaging of Asian wealth. The team looted thousands of metric tons of gold and valuables from Chinese cities. The largest load was collected by General Yamashita after his conquest of Singapore, the repository of many hidden British and French assets. The one obstacle the Japanese faced was getting their hoard back to the homeland. At first, the enemy relied on naval transport. However, after Allied forces picked up on this tactic and began hitting the Emperor's navy hard, the Japanese began securing their treasure in underground mines.
So it was I would disagree a little bit with the video when they said that it was like European gold. No, it wasn't. It was gold that belonged to the colonies. It belonged to the land that the Japanese had taken over. But basically, a lot of people actually don't know about this part of history. So we know about, a lot of people, they know about how Germany, when they invaded, so many countries, they looted so many gold, paintings, important architecture, and a lot of it was still never found to this day. So a lot of the Nazi gold was never found to this day. But the Japanese also looted a lot. They looted a lot of gold. They looted a lot of stuff when they went through their different territories that they conquered in Asia. And what I would say also about this is that about what I was saying about the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere earlier, the reason it was called that, the Japanese called it that, and not the Japanese Empire, is for propaganda reasons, mainly. Because Japanese East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere sounds a lot better than Japanese Empire. When you see your Japanese Empire, you basically think of them as oppressors. When they say Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, that's something different. But there was just for propaganda. There was nothing good about it. And, for example, the Japanese had a lot of propaganda in the areas they conquered, and it was basically Asian brotherhood. That's what the Japanese would say. They would say Asian brotherhood, we're all Asians, we are all equal. But the reality of this is this was a lot of nonsense. I actually find the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere very similar to the Russian Empire, very similar. This is before the Russian Revolution. But basically, when the Russian Empire would take over territories, when it took over territories like Poland, for example, where my parents are from, do you know what the Russian Empire would typically do? What the Russian Empire would typically do, and they would do this to Ukrainians, Belarusians, Poles, and they would say, oh, Slavic brotherhood, we're all Slavic, we're all equal. That's what they would typically say. But the reality of it was never Slavic brotherhood. It was instead Russian domination. So the Russians would dominate everything, and not only that, but the Russians would Russify every area that they conquered. So they would, Poles were not allowed to speak Polish on their own land, on their own soil. And Poland was largely a Roman Catholic nation, where Russia was largely Eastern Orthodox. And they shut down so many Catholic churches. They would send, Polish people to work camps in Siberia. So a lot of people don't know about this, that it was the Russians, the Russian Empire who actually started the first gulags before the Soviets did. When the Soviets came to power, they just expanded the gulag network greatly. But in comparing this to Japan, it was the same thing where the Japanese would go into territories and they would say, generally like, they would say, oh, Asian brotherhood, we're all equal. But the thing is, every single people that were occupied by the Japanese despised them, hated them, hated the Japanese Empire. There's not one Japanese colony that I can think of that has a positive view of them. There's not one. Thailand was the only country that was a bit more friendly to Japan, an Asian country that was a bit more friendly to it. But Thailand was, while it wasn't fully occupied by Japan, it was more of a protectorate of Japan. So it had its own government, but they were kind of like puppets of Japan in a way. But other than that, there's really, the Koreans really didn't like the Japanese Empire. The Chinese didn't. The Vietnamese didn't. The Taiwanese didn't. There's, you just go through all the territories that Japan had conquered. Singaporeans didn't. Malaysians didn't. Indonesians didn't. And even though they would talk about how it's, Asian brotherhood, the Japanese Empire saw anybody that wasn't Japanese as below them. They saw them as subhuman. I mean, you look at what the Japanese did, for example, in China, the Nanking massacre. The Japanese killed over 200,000 people in 2 weeks. And it was just horrible. Japanese soldiers would just go into Chinese hospitals and just, kill wounded Chinese soldiers with bayonets, going room to room. They'd murder the nurses, the doctors, it was horrible. It was slaughter. And so, how can they possibly say, Asian brotherhood when they're committing these horrible atrocities? But like I said, the whole idea of the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere is it was made for propaganda reasons. It was never, I forgot to mention the Philippines also. The Philippines really didn't like the Japanese either. So it was try to propaganda towards the occupied peoples to make them more friendly towards the Japanese. But that was basically it. The Japanese didn't, they didn't see the people that they conquered as equals to them. But let's take a look at letters from home here.
Dear Joe, last month we had a big storm and the elm in the backyard came down. Sorry to say, your old treehouse was smashed. Donnie's gonna be awfully upset when he gets home. Mom found his magazines in the wreckage and put them in the trash. So that's where he was hiding them. After the stump was cleared, Mom planted a victory garden. Between tending her crops and volunteering at the Red Cross, she's keeping busy. I'm sure you've heard about all the shortages here. I had to save up a month's worth of sugar ration stamps to make Dad's birthday cake, and the tires on the car are bald as a cue ball. But we don't mind these little sacrifices because we know it helps all of you fighting for us overseas. We think of you and Donnie constantly and pray for your safe return. Right back when you can, big brother. Much love, Mary.
So, in there they mentioned a victory garden, and basically what a victory garden was is it was civilians were encouraged to grow their own food during the war. It was meant to conserve. It was you were meant to conserve rations at the time of the war. So, and this is the same thing during World War I. Is you were meant to conserve food, but also you were encouraged not to waste food. Like, the media would the media and the government had like a very big campaign that if you start food, you finish it. You don't waste it. Like, you don't take a bite of an apple and then you chuck it. You're supposed to finish your food. You're not supposed to waste food. And in Victory Garden, you'd grow your own food. And on top of that, you also might share your food with the veterans, share your food with the government, where then they could send it over to the veterans. Basically, that was the idea of that. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the mission here. I'll have the next part for you guys as soon as I can. I hope you guys don't get bored with my history. I like history a lot, especially the Pacific. I know the Pacific pretty well. And so it's, I think this is like, a part of history that, like, especially in World War II, it's not covered as much as the European theater, but it's also really important. But thank you guys for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.